Welcome to a new video in my home automation series, and this episode is going to be about some mix updates and news about the eWeLink as an application and some of the new products that they are releasing, and also some of the promotions that actually started in the beginning of September. So I'm a little bit late with that, but the current promotions run all the way until the end of December. So you haven't really missed anything unless you purchase some stuff early. So you're going to see the timestamps here. So I'm going to just go through each of these new things, and then you can decide what's interesting for you. So the first thing I want to talk about is that the eWeLink application has been updated to version 5.0, and that sort of like happened at the end of last week. And if you just open the application, what you would notice is that we have some new visuals. So there is a refreshed look and feel. We have slightly different icons, but the main UI hasn't really changed. It's still the sort of the layout that we are used to, and you can go into the device settings and you can see device details. You can operate the devices, and the only thing which has been moved here, probably that you would notice just by looking at the screen, that the plus button, which used to be down here in the middle, is now moved to the upper right, which I think it's a more usual place for this plus, like add scenes, add devices button, and this middle one is taken up by the inside, which is the new feature. But again, just to summarize the new features, probably the most important thing is not these inside, but that there is Matter support in the eWeLink. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit later on. But then basically what we have now is that the NS Panel Pro becomes eWeLink's Matter hub. And you should be able to pair Matter devices if you have an NS Panel Pro in your network. So that's one, and that's quite a big news. I'm probably going to water down, but maybe that's just going to be my, my take on, why it is a really big news or not such a big news. But I'm going to come back to a little bit later. The second one is the inside. Well, I've already mentioned about the inside. So this is like a new dashboard type layout, which has a couple of things. I'm going to talk about that. And we have a couple of new features in the scenes, which we are going to see a little bit later. And then also there are some new features in the home sharing, and we have also improved accessibility to Android widgets. So you can place additional widgets on your screen, and you can control these devices a little bit easier. So we have some new widgets. So if you have some of your favorite devices that you want to control from your home screen, now there are some better widgets or new widgets from the eWeLink where you can control one or multiple devices or trigger scenes, so you don't have to open the application. So I think that's nice. So first is let's talk about this Matter compatibility, because I think that's probably the most important, or the ones that people are most interested about. So what is it? First of all, you need, well, I'm not going to go into Matter because I've done a couple of different videos on that, and I've already reviewed SONOFF's first Matter device, which is a Matter Mini. So we have a Matter device from SONOFF, and of course we have a lot of other Matter devices that we can use now. And now what you can do is, using this plus button, when you add a device, now you can add a Matter device as well. I'm not going to go through the process because for some reason it doesn't work for me. But I think besides the fact that now you can pair Matter devices to your eWeLink account, or along with your other SONOFF devices, I think this is more important because it's sort of like showing the direction the eWeLink is going to. And the reason I'm not so much excited about this, because at the moment what is supported in Matter standards are like bulbs and switches and plugs and simple relays. And at the moment what is supported in eWeLink are just simple switches and like smart sockets, so not bulbs at the moment. And I think at the moment eWeLink has a really good product portfolio. If you just want to pick a compatible product from SONOFF, I mean, I'm pretty much certain that there are some Matter devices which you would prefer on top of a SONOFF device, maybe because of the look and feel or ergonomics. But as I said, I think, what you need in terms of light switches and, smart plugs and other relays, SONOFF pretty much has everything covered. So it's not like that Matter is opening up a whole new things that you can add to SONOFF in terms of functionality, at least not at the moment. Of course, when there is going to be more support for more lights, then maybe there is going to be more selection from various, smart bulbs that SONOFF does not manufacture, but you can probably find a similar or a different Matter bulb, because it may be a different screw socket type or different look and feel that you want to use instead of a SONOFF one. And of course, Matter is going to evolve as well. So in time, there is going to be more device type support for Matter, which again will going to open up more what you can do with SONOFF. But going through the whole thing, again, what you need for all this to work is you need an NS Panel Pro on your network, or on your SONOFF account, and of course it needs one that is running, and your NS Panel Pro, which I have here, must be upgraded to the 2.0.0 version. But then besides that, the pairing process should be exactly the same. So you just select Add Device, and then you should be able to pair your Matter compatible device. So that is the part which is not working. I'm still trying to sort this out with SONOFF. Maybe I have a situation where I have my 2.4 and 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi network, which are exactly the same. So maybe that is causing some confusion, but I'm going to come back to this a little bit later when I have everything up and running, and probably the whole process would require a separate video anyway. So this is new. I think it is great. The direction is definitely interesting, and I think it's going to be much better and much more relevant in the future. So that's all about the Matter compatibility. And now let's go to this new Insight tab that you can see here. And just to quickly summarize, this is a new dashboard which does a couple of things, and you can see this couple of things here. So you can dedicate a temperature and a humidity sensor, which becomes your, let's say, home ambience. You can decide which device which device you want the temperature and the humidity to be shown here on the main screen. And as you can see, you can pick the temperature and the humidity from different devices. And then also it also shows all your other temperature and humidity sensors. So it's like a central view where you can see temperatures and humidity. It doesn't really do anything else. So it's probably just like a filter of your devices on temperature and humidity. So instead of scrolling through all your devices through each of the rooms, you can come here, you can click on this widget, and you can just quickly see all your readings. So it's a summary screen. It doesn't do anything else more. I was thinking, I was running these various sensors for a couple of days now. I was thinking maybe it shows some graphs, or maybe it's like, min max, but no, it doesn't really do that. It just, shows these values. And that's fine, but yeah, that's what it does. The next one is, it shows all the devices that are on at the moment. And if I go out and let me find something else, which is online and I can turn off, for example, the touch. And if I go back to the Insight, now you can see that the touch is on. I've noticed that it doesn't work with some dual channel devices. So I think, no, it works for the T1, but then I also have a NS panel, not the Pro, but the simple NS panel. And if I turn this one on, and if I go back to the Insight, for example, this one doesn't show. So probably there are some glitches, but in most of the devices, you can see the T1 here as well. So it is supported. And of course, you can come here and then you can turn all of them off. So again, it's a good summary screen. You can, especially if you are monitoring your house energy consumption, you can see at any point you can see what devices are on. You can turn them off, or you can just come here and turn them off individually. It's a good summary screen. It doesn't do anything more than that. And the second one is an energy dashboard. it is, sorry, that's the third one. And it is very similar to what we could see in all the cast screens and also on the NS Panel Pro, but it also has some additional features. So I have two POWs in my home, and then one of them is connected to the dishwasher. So here you can see that how much electricity it was using this month and this week, and you can go back, you can do week views, and you can go month views, and you can also go back. I mean, here, because it is connected to the dishwasher, so it's either like nothing, or you can see that, you know, all these days we had like one wash, and then we were washing the dishes once, and then here we were doing it twice. So it is a nice overview. If you have connected it to a device which is like, you know, always on, then of course that's going to be a more lively diagram. Maybe you can connect it to a fridge, and you can see if the fridge is using more power because, let's say, you defrosted it, or you put a lot of things in the freezer which had to be cooled down, so the consumption goes up. And the other thing which is here is that if you go into the settings, you can create groups. So for me, there is no point, well, I have only a few devices, so there's no point just creating groups. But what you can do here, as you can see, you can create a group, you can give it a name, and you can select which devices are going to be in the group. So, and you can set up thresholds. So you can set a monthly threshold or a weekly threshold, and this threshold and the alerts is something that was already available, I think, we have seen it in the POW Elite, but maybe it has also given to all the devices as well with a firmware update. But let's say you can create a group on like only your heaters, and then you can just, you know, group them together, and then it will show like you can see here the all. Then you would have another group here which would show like heaters, and you can monitor how much, you know, electricity you are using just for heating your house. And you can break this down to, you know, computers, I don't know, lights, or, you know, whatever. So again, if you are conscious about the energy usage, now you can just buy a bunch of these devices. As you can see, again, if I quickly show you what's supported. So at the moment I have POW, the original one, the Release 2, and the Elite as well. So all three of them are supported, and the Dual also has energy monitoring. So I think that's pretty much all the devices that they sell. Well, okay, not all, because I think they have the PM, SPM, and the POW Release 3 as well, which I don't have, so I can't really see them. But again, pretty much all the devices that they sell and they monitor energy usage can be used into this grouping. So there is a lot of customizability here. It's a lot of information on one screen. So I think it's, you know, it's quite useful. You can see something about, some introduction about this energy dashboard. So it's a lot about functionality, and obviously we are watching electricity usage, and we are conscious about our consumptions now more than ever. And the last one is a very simple feature, but I think it's a nice feature nevertheless, which is like a schedule on, you know, specific devices, but it's like a random schedule. So what it says here is, let me go back. It's this one. Let me just go. So this is the present simulation. So what it really does, you can assign various smart lights or smart sockets or, you know, smart switches to these, and it would just randomly turn them on and off just to simulate some sort of presence at home. So if you are leaving, if you go out, you can enable these, and it would just keep switching your lights around. And you can set up, you can give it a name, you can set up a period, which is basically the hour and the minute to start and the end every single day. And you can specify which days of the week as well. And you assign devices, and within this period and and on these days, it would just switch on these devices sort of like randomly. You can't really control. You can see here that at least for 10 minutes. It's nice. We had schedules, but now you can just control it from one single place. You don't have to, you know, set up the schedules for these individual lights, which also means that you can just easily enable and disable these, and you can have multiple of these present sense simulations. So maybe you can have a different pattern for the weekend and a different pattern for the weekday, or you can just have, you know, separate ones for every single day, or you can just create multiple of these, so you can just turn them off on and off individually. So maybe you can have one for the garden and, you know, for the inside lights, and you can decide which one you which one do you want to run. I mean, maybe you want to do the garden random lights even when you are at home, because it just, you know, nice visual that something is changing outside. So yeah, it's a nice thing. Again, nothing, I wouldn't say nothing really groundbreaking, but we are getting more functionality. We are getting these dashboards where certain information is much easier to summarize and much easier to get. So again, it's easier to use the application, especially if you have bigger smart home system with, you know, a couple of dozens of devices. And even if you try to break them up into different rooms, at some point it just gets a little bit too busy. So these specific information would be easier to be found within the inside. And the next functionality is the inside. And for that, I want to just pick a random device, maybe this TH Elite. And if I go into the share screen, I don't usually go into the share screen because it's pretty much the same for every single device. And I think previously we just had this screen which has share via WhatsApp or with the eWeLink user. So you can assign an eWeLink user or a WhatsApp user, and you can share this device with them. But now we have this this previous screen as well. And you can see that some of the functionality is only available for the advanced user. But you can decide whether within sharing you want to give access to control the device. You turn them on and off. I mean, of course, that's default. I mean, otherwise, why would you share? And you can also decide whether you want to enable the user to edit the timers or only, you know, set the timers. And of course, if you want to restrict the user to only view the timers, not to edit them, you need the advanced option. And you can also make the sharing permanent, or you can make it temporary. So you can specify at what date the share would expire. So again, that could be useful if you want to give temporary access to somebody, maybe in a shared accommodation or sort of like a rented apartment. You can just give access for, let's say, 2 weeks or, you know, whatever period that you want, and then it will get revoked automatically. So new features, and obviously now with some of these features, they are making you to, you know, consider the advanced plan subscription. And the last thing is the updated widgets, which I've already showed in previously. So I'm just going to go back quickly here. So you can see that now we are getting 3 widgets, and you can see this example here as well. So you can create a widget for controlling one single device or controlling multiple devices in like a bigger widgets, like, you know, device control. So like a 1x1 tile for device control, or 4x2, and you can also have a slightly bigger button to trigger a manual scene. It's nice. As usual, it's really the small things which usually make you love a product a little bit more. It makes your life a little bit easier, makes it a little bit easier to use, because you can just place them on your home screen and you don't have to open up the application every time to, let's say, control a device or trigger a manual scene. So the next set of enhancements are related to the scenes, and some of them are related to the manual scenes and some of them to the automated scenes. So if you create a manual scene, when you are setting a specific date, a specific time, then you can specify a time of the day, but you can also select the date as well. So if you would just select the time of the day, obviously it, you know, when it next occurs, but you can set it to start on a specific date. So if you want to get really specific with a special routine that you want to be executed on a certain date, then you can do that as well. And if you don't pick a date, then you can just use the repeat tag to, let's say, set up something which executes daily at the same time or certain days of the week. So that's a small addition. What I've also noticed that in the sunset and the sunrise, so when you select it, Previously, I think we only had the option to set to 5, 10, 15 minutes before and after, but now you can go all the way to 4 hours. I thought that the 15-day window, the 15-minute window was a little bit more, it was a little bit restrictive. I think maybe 4 hours is a little bit more, but again, you just have a little bit more choices around sunset. So, you know, sometimes you don't want to do something at sunset because it's still sort of like light. So it's not fully dark yet, but now you can just easily set, let's say, you know, 1 hour after sunset. And, you know, that's something where it usually gets, you know, pretty dark already. So you can start some routines to execute at that point. Or you know, if you have some outside lights, maybe you would just want to start them 1 hour before the sun sets. So these are the small things that they have modified in the scenes. And also we get some new functionality for the automated scenes. And here what the new functionality that we get here is, you can see it here. So this is like a receive email, and that's again behind the advanced plan. So you have to subscribe for the advanced plan to be able to enable this functionality. And this is basically just a toggle. And then you would receive an email when this triggers. To be honest, I don't see a huge potential here. I mean, it is nice to get a notification, especially if you are testing something, you know, right in the beginning, just to make sure that it triggers in the conditions that you expect, because sometimes maybe the automation is not something that you would notice immediately, but at least you get an email notification. I don't think I would use this for a continuously, but, you know, for testing something, you know, running it for the first couple of days to receive a notification, I think that could be quite useful. So for me, I think in most cases, I find it more useful to send a push notification as part of the actions. But again, if you want to keep on some sort of logic, make sure it's working right, I think the receive email could be a good, you know, testing measure for your scenes. And I think with these, we got to the bottom of the new changes that are, or the new functionalities, which is available in the eWeLink application. And I also want to mention some of the new announcements that were made on the forum, which I usually go to get some, you know, news as well, and also some of the things that I post on my iHost issues that usually goes to the same thing. So they have this new arrival section, and I've noticed some of the new, you know, Zigbee stuff. So there is going to be a SONOFF Zigbee Thermostatic Radiator Valve, and you asked me, you know, many times that, you know, would this device work in a SONOFF Zigbee network with the iHost or the NS Panel Pro? And I always pick up the Thermostatic Radiator Valve as an example, because if the product itself doesn't exist in the SONOFF system, so there is no matching SONOFF product, I don't think a third-party product would work, because they just haven't, you know, done the programming for that specific device type. But now we have a Thermostatic Radiator Valve, which, well, you would be able to purchase from SONOFF. I mean, I have to look at the launch date, because I think it is probably just launching soon. Yeah, okay. So you can, or you will be able to purchase this. And that also means that it's very likely that a third-party Zigbee Thermostatic Radiator Valve will also work in the SONOFF system. So if for whatever reason you don't like this because of the aesthetics or, you know, the way it is mounted, then at least you have an option to pick something from a different vendor. And also it looks like that the S-Made is also getting an updated version. So we will have some new ways to control switches or make switches smart with a new version of the S-Made Extreme, which is coming our way, and I believe I'm going to be receiving one in the post, so you should expect me to do a review on this device definitely. And of course we have some deals on, you know, the TX Ultimate, and this pretty much brings me to the promotions that I mentioned about, you know, the September promotions. And as you would expect, I mean, it's usually like the 8 and 10% that I can announce for new product. And of course the new, you know, the mini extreme version, the matter version is has its own promotion, depending on whether you only buy one or you buy two of them, and the same applies for the S-Mate as well. And we have promotions for some of the older products as well, which has been around around. So it's really the new stuff is around, you know, the mini extreme matter version and the S-Mid, the new version of the S-Mid, which is available now with a little bit of promotion. And of course, you will find the link to all of these in the video description. So this is all I wanted to share about the new functions in the eWeLink application 5, some of the new products and the new promotions that are, well, either coming or already here available for us. If you like any of these, I'm going to leave purchasing links or links to all of these in the video description. But that will be all for today. Thanks for watching and hopefully see you next video.